If you're watching this, you've probably noticed changes in your developing body. Amongst changes in your physiology, moods, and appetite for biomass, the most notable of these changes indicative of going from a larval spawn to an adult Ouroboros is the ability to reproduce. Today, we're going to teach you about the miracle of our species' life cycle, pair bonding, and reproduction. Pay attention, some of this might just save you some embarrassment, or even your life. Although an Ouroboros can reproduce for many reasons, considering their biological immortality and fierce individual nature, Ourobori rarely have offspring on purpose. The most common reason for spawning a larvae is that the progenitor's life is in mortal danger. As a defense mechanism, the body will reproduce asexually via budding. When a new spawn is born, it typically means the progenitor is too far gone to continue. Spawnhood is the most vulnerable part of an Ourobori's life, as they need to consume an inordinate amount of biomass, both to prevent them from collapsing in on themselves, and to allow their body to form a healthy and mature shifter organ. In the likely event that the progenitor is not only unable to care for the spawn, but itself as well, to give the lineage a strong chance of survival, the spawn will consume the progenitor. In doing so, the spawn not only gains an important head start in the collection of biomass it will need to live, but absorbs the personality, strategies, and sensibilities of the progenitor. The consciousness and memories of the progenitor are stored in the recesses of the shifter organ, unable to be directly accessed, but still acting alongside the spawn's subconscious. If you ever wondered why you woke up in the middle of the night hearing a voice that claimed to be your grandfather screaming at you for what you're into, now you know why. There are instances in which the spawn and progenitor coexist. In these instances, they quickly form a symbiotic relationship. While rare, these instances often show novel and unique survival strategies, and many of the most influential Ourobori were, at least for a moment in time, part of a symbiotic pair. You're probably asking yourself, what is all this? I thought babies were formed when a mommy and a daddy love each other very much. While that is the reality for many lesser species, the apex predator of the four dimensions, Ourobori, have evolved past this. For Ourobori, sexual gratification and reproduction have evolved into two completely distinct biological acts that split from one another millennia ago. This, in combination with their sometimes unknowable nature and incredibly hardy variable physiology, is partly responsible for the species' diverse, promiscuous, and often deranged fraternization with many other species and members of its own kind. The ultimate bastion of individuality, most Ouroboran unions are short-lived, toxic, or purely transactional, and these are the least grisly of cases. It is incredibly rare that a long-term engagement between two Ourobori does not end in at least one attempting to consume the other. While this has been recorded for the interspecies engagements as well, it is a rarity. In engagements with their own kind, it is the norm. During the process of spousal consumption, the consumed will attempt to release spores to sustain its lineage, although this is often unsuccessful, as the spores are consumed as well. In rare cases, the consumer will spawn a replacement for those it is to absorb before consumption. The resulting connection between the new entity and the to-be consumer are amongst the most common long-term sustainable Ouroboran relationships, along with the rare instance of a protective spawn. As with reproduction, the underlying drive to consume other Ouroboros is instinctual, often fusing with the other desires in the relationship in a macabre and disturbing fashion. Ourobori have been able to resist this urge using higher thinking. However, since absorption yields the biomass, knowledge, and assets of the absorbed to the absorber, they very often do not resist the urge at all, and rather lean into it, making extravagant and often convoluted plans for the time of absorption. You may have noticed Ourobori are more rare than other species. This is because Ouroboran unions often lead to mutual absorption. At this point, one of two things occur. The two beings either collapse into nothingness if incompatible, or fuse into a new being if compatible. The intricacies of this aspect of Ouroboran biology is not yet fully understood, but the leading theory claims that both are actually forms of fusion, and the version that appears outwardly as collapse is actually ascension to a higher dimension. But there's no way there's actually a dimension higher than ours.